Saturday, black market beauties.
I'm calling you a white slaver.
And Hooker wants to set them free. Then,
I'm your son.
Scott becomes an unexpected father on the Love Boat. And it's round one when the wrong girl falls for Rourke on Fantasy Island.
Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.
His paintings redefined comic book heroes. His vision inspired a generation. The Legend of Kingdom Come is the definitive documentary on Alex Ross, known as the Norman Rockwell of comics.
It almost looked like Renaissance paintings, except for superheroes.
He makes them look like Olympian gods.
We go behind the scenes of his definitive graphic novel, Kingdom Come, now on Blu-ray, packed with exclusive interviews and unseen artwork. Order today at legendofkingdomcome.com.
If you're here at Word Balloon, it's because you like comics, creators, conversation, pop culture subjects. Would you consider joining the League of Word Balloon Listeners? Patreon.com/wordballoon. For just $3 a month or more, you'll get exclusive access to the Word Balloon e-magazine, featuring transcriptions of some of my best conversations. When you subscribe, you'll also be part of the Word Balloon Book Club, where Brian Michael Bendis and I will pick a comic every month to review and discuss live with the League on this show. Join the League today, patreon.com/wordballoon. Thank you always for your support, League of Word Balloon listeners. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. It's time for another Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here with Michael Stradford. Good to see you, Michael. Welcome back.
Oh, John, so good to see you. And man, I love that promo right at the front with the Love Boat and all those old ABC classics.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, man. It's like, yeah, I'm like, oh, Hooker, white slaving ring. I'm like, okay, there we go. But kind of consistent of our subject today. That would be a good Grindhouse kind of movie subject and everything.
Yeah.
So
I would love to have seen a Grindhouse movie starring Mr. Rourke. The
God,
days of Mr. Rourke.
You know, honestly, he's lucky that Fantasy Island came the way that it did, because I think, given that he was doing, the Planet of the Apes movies and stuff, he very easily could have zipped into, I think, Grindhouse movies with Montalban. I love Montalban.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So Michael is here to promote a couple things. I know he's got some pretty cool projects in the works, but one thing that we want to make people aware of is his Facebook group, and I've got a banner, Michael, that I even made for you. But Grindhouse Comics, and I know you've got a lot of plans for this, but so I don't know what you want to say and what you don't want to say, but you do want people to go to the group on Facebook if you're a fan of these kind of movies and comics.
Yeah, so I've got a project that's coming up. It'll be through Kickstarter towards the back half of the year. And I set up this page on Facebook and Instagram, Grindhouse Comics Presents, because what it's going to be is an anthology. And it's original characters and original stories in the spirit of Grindhouse movies. And for those that don't know, Grindhouse movies came out 60s, 70s, 80s, arguably to some degree VHS in the 80s and early 90s, whereas low budget genre films that had action, sci-fi, blaxploitation, horror, women in trouble, returning war veteran subgenres. And they weren't made with a lot of money, but they were made with a lot of passion, and they were a lot of fun. And you'd be very hard pressed to produce any of those movies today, because things are so stringent and so restrictive now. Whereas in the 70s, particularly, it was the Wild Wild West, and you could see all kinds of stuff. So this page is set up to kind of be a primer to people that either, like yourself, already know these films, or other maybe younger viewers that may not be familiar but are interested. So it's, there'll be a lot of movie posters. I'm doing double feature recommendations, and most of those recommendations will be available to stream for free on platforms like Tubi. some comic book Grindhouse stuff, some paperback novel Grindhouse stuff. So I really want to build kind of a community, and then later in the year start to introduce the project itself. And the panel that you showed, which is from my Facebook homepage, is a panel of the main story, which is called Rain, and that's an 88-page story. And it's based on a screenplay that I wrote and was actually filmed and produced and released last year. The film was called Trouble Man, no relation to the 1972 classic by Robert Hooks. But Michael Jai White bought my script, rewrote it, directed and starred in it. And it came out in August. And he changed quite a bit of it. You know, it was his vision. He bought it so he could do what he wanted. Yeah. So he changed quite a bit of it. So the tone of it is more action comedy, whereas mine was more of a modern day homage to Shaft. So I maintained my graphic novel rights for my original screenplay. And so I decided, you know, I'd like to do my own version of my script. And so I've been working on it. The script was adapted. I worked with a guy named Anthony Rella, who did a great job adapting it. And it's being illustrated by a young artist named Ruli Akbar, who's really, really strong. And this is just one of the scenes that he's illustrated. And I thought that image, that panel, just kind of captured the whole vibe of Grindhouse. You know, it's just rowdy and crazy and fun. And so as time goes on, you know, I'll be unveiling more of that story, more of the characters, because there are 8 stories and 7 characters. So then those other stories range between 6 and 14 pages. Like I said, Rain is 88 pages. So, and I'm thinking about it like Grindhouse. So these other short stories are kind of like trailers for future attractions. And they're going to be essentially some special features, like there'll be an art house primer article that will list a bunch of Grindhouse movies to check out, books and comics. There'll be backstories on the creation of these different characters. David Walker is doing the foreword, and I do an article called The Long Road to Rain, which kind of walks you through the creation of my original screenplay, through it being sold and produced, through my creating the graphic novel. So it's, you know, it's a fun project, and I'm going to make it hopefully really worth the money, because it's going to be 200 pages total. It'll be 9 by 12, so it'll be a really nice size, and it'll be on 157 gram paper stock, so it's going to have a really nice quality to it. So you know, I feel good about it. I like it. All the other stories are finished, colored, illustrated, lettered. With Rain, we're about halfway done. We've completed 48 of the 88 pages, so we've got, you know, a bit to go. But okay. My artist is working diligently, and you know, we're keeping going. And once that story is completed, then we'll actually start the real solicitation, because I didn't want to push the book on Kickstarter without it being completed, because there are so many campaigns where, like, there's one which will go nameless, but there was one graphic novel that I was really excited about that I signed up for, and this week it's 3 years late, and the communication between the creator and the audience is really poor. And one of the things we've been able to establish with Gizmo, with our several releases through Zoop and Kickstarter, is we've been able to deliver at least on time, and in some cases early. And I know that that's important to supporters, and I want to continue that. So once I say, you know, the book is done, I can physically show you a mock-up copy, and you can rest assured that, you know, if we hit the goal, that it's just a matter of printing, and then you'll get the book. So there won't be like a several month delay and wondering what's going on and all that kind of thing.
I hear you, Michael. You're being emphatic and you're pounding that table like Khrushchev at the UN.
Sorry
which
about
I
that.
love. No, I love it. But also, I just want to let the audience know that's Michael being very emphatic and going, "No, I want to do this."
No.
And truly, true to form, I've supported Gizmo in the past. Michael's been on before here on Word Balloon. We had that wonderful episode about. The Art of Dennis Cowan. First of all, one of my favorite books, and the opportunity to have a nice long conversation with Dennis was great. And I'm blanking now on the Doc Savage,
Steve Holland.
Steve Holland, everybody, the fantastic male model that was Doc Savage on all those great James Bama paperback covers and everything. Yeah. And then Michael did that. And then, of course, the Chicken, right? The Western,
Fargo.
right?
Yeah. So speaking of that, we're trying to work things out to do a 10-page prelude for the next Fargo graphic novel, and include that in the Grindhouse Comics Presents book. So hopefully we'll be able to work that out too.
That would be amazing. And also again, when you told me about your group, I was in, and everybody. Here's great examples, some movie posters that Michael posted on the website, or I should say the Facebook group. But there's Walking Tall, Joe Don Baker in the original Walking Tall, and Cool Breeze. Who's in Cool Breeze? Who's starring in that?
Famulous Rasulullah. It's not one of the blaxploitation films that comes to mind when you start thinking about the genre, but it was a good movie, and I think it was the first MGM movie to come out post Shaft.
Oh wow! Yeah.
So it had a lot of heat on it.
Sure.
And it's just a great image. I think it just really speaks to the craziness and the fun of blaxploitation with that poster.
Could not agree more. And then of course Mad Max. We got the infamous and now I'm black. Shame on me, man. My brain isn't working already this morning. What's his face? Got busted for the cops. Help me out, Michael. Mad Max, the star.
Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson, for God's sake.
And and that background, John, is
I'll bring it back up.
You're old enough to have seen this. I'm assuming that it played in your theaters. When I would go to my Grindhouse theaters, it would always have this music. And Tarantino has been using this clip for years, and it says our previews of coming attractions. And it would have this really cool music. And that was always the graphic, so I was able to find the graphic.
The absolute background behind all the movie posters. Yeah, the psychedelic thing here, everybody.
Yeah.
Sure. Oh, absolutely. Well, of course, and he and Robert Rodriguez bringing Grindhouse back as they did. 20 years ago now,
at least
something like that.
Yeah.
I'm Michael. I'm so glad you mentioned Tubi, because, folks, I've been singing the praises of Tubi for years. And, on our Scene Missing, Michael, you got to come on Scene Missing sometime with Gabe Hartman and us and everything, because you're one of us when it comes to these kind of crazy movies. But that's what's great about Tubi.
Yeah.
They have all these, like, I'm prepping a couple shorts that I want to do. I like doing quirky little shorts about weird subjects. I mean, of course, I do the long form stuff and the interviews, but every now and then, like I did a 2-minute thing about how much I love The Saint. Not only Roger Moore, but some of the other iterations and things.
Right.
But I've been thinking about the action heroes of the 70s that nobody talks about, like Patrick Wayne, John Wayne's son, who, beautiful marquee looks and stuff. Not the greatest talent in the world. And so made his bones, making these crazy genre movies that were playing in the Grindhouse theaters. Absolutely, man. So.
Let me ask you real quick, since you mentioned The Saint, what did you think of the Val Kilmer movie?
I hated it.
and why did you hate it?
Because it wasn't Simon Templar. I mean, take the Saint name off of it and just make it a cool, like, what was the Mammoth movie that Kilmer made that was so good?
Spartan.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I like Val Kilmer a lot. I loved him. But I'm like, that's not Simon Templar, man. I'm sorry, it's not.
The director Philip Noyce was on a radio talk show once, and he was talking. It was a career retrospective, and they were taking calls, and he had mentioned The Saint, and he said he didn't really understand why it didn't work. And I called and was able to get in, and I said, I think I can tell you one of the reasons The Saint didn't work. And he said, what's that? I said, well, imagine if the James Bond series started with On Her Majesty's Secret Service, even if it was Sean Connery, But imagine if the series started with James Bond falling in love and getting married. You lose everything that makes Bond Bond. I mean, the first 30 minutes of The Saint, I was curious and interested to see what they were going to do with it because I liked Kilmer being this high-tech thief and this and that. But as soon as you brought Elizabeth Shue in, it turned into this love story that didn't really work, and you lose part of what makes, a lot of with James Bond, you don't want to see him change. You want to take a ride with him. You want to see how he handles different situations. And with this, he was saddled 40 minutes into the movie and it never recovered. And Noyce paused and he said, I never really considered that. And I think you might be right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, because truly, man, first of all, nice having balls to go, hey, you know why your movie sucked? Let me tell you.
Hey, man.
You did it in a nice way. Don't get me wrong. But
when I was at Sony, we had occasion, and I produced the special features for all our DVDs.
Yes, sir.
I had occasion to work with, do commentaries for Joel Schumacher several times, who was a really nice guy and did amazing commentaries. When he did the 8mm commentary, he singled out James Gandolfini because this was before Sopranos had come out. And he said, this guy is starring in this gangster show on HBO that when it hits, it's going to change everything. And he's going to be right at the center of it. And after 8mm, I said, we've done like 4 commentaries together and your commentaries are so good. I'd love for you to do commentaries on movies that weren't yours. And your commentaries are so good, I can almost forgive you for Batman, for Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. And he just looked at me and started laughing.
I heard him on Fresh Air with Terry Gross, and he said, it wasn't Sony movies, so you didn't get to do the Batman and Robin commentary.
No, that was Warner's, yeah.
But I know he said that they would come in during the shoot of the movie and they'd bring in a toy and be like, all right, we need a scene with this vehicle in it for Batman and Robin. And he's like, because, I didn't mind Batman Forever. I the Kilmer one. I didn't mind that one. I'll be honest.
I mean, it was, I thought Val was fine. There were just some beats that just felt off. But, I know that after Batman Returns, they felt like they didn't move enough product. And so there was a big shift to make sure they moved enough product. So, and I kind of I experienced that to some degree with Spider-Man at Sony. I sat in on a meeting with all the department heads. My boss couldn't go, so he sent me there in his place. And the head of Sony at the time was Amy Pascal. And Amy came in. This was after Spider-Man 2 had done what it was going to do. And so they were doing like a post-mortem. And the first thing she said, she sat down and she said, the problem with Spider-Man 2, we didn't sell enough Eggos. And I was like, what? And she's like, these movies have to have a particular thing to move merchandise, and we got to sell Eggos. And I just wanted to get up and walk out. But, that was, so the priority when you see a movie that, particularly a genre movie that turns out really well from a big studio, it's quite an achievement beyond just the creative challenges. The actual business components and merchandising and marketing components that force their way into the movies when filmmakers are savvy or smart or strong enough to be able to deflect that stuff so that they can still tell a compelling story is really quite an accomplishment.
And mentioning that, I think of last summer with the Superman movie and all the merch. And you've got a great insider opinion or view of this. Because people are like, it only made $600 million. I'm like, yeah, but they made all these promotional deals. I have a feeling that this movie still made money because of all the merch and everything. So, how much money do these companies invest to not only create the tchotchkes that they sell, but also when it's and now I'm thinking of companies that are out of business like Radio Shack or somebody like that, and go see Spider-Man, go see Superman in theaters now. All those kind of commercial tie-ins where they're not selling merch, they're just putting their brand next to the movie and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, to me, one of the most effective at brand placement whilst while not disrupting the universe of the movie has been James Bond. You know, I mean, they've worked in so many different brands, but it all fits within the world and the scope of the movie. So it's rare when you're really distracted. And those times that you are, like if they put a big spotlight on the BMW when Pierce Brosnan was Bond, you know, it was there for a reason and it made sense in the context of the movie. And I don't think many other franchises have been able to do it that elegantly.
Agreed with that. Absolutely, man. But I again, this is sadly part of the equation of making these movies and even in some cases these TV shows. And it's sad. It's really sad because you're right, man. Hell, we just want to try and make a decent movie. And again, these Grindhouse people, all they were trying to do, it was fun because it was kind of this evolution or devolution from the drive-in genre of the 50s and early 60s. And it just seems like as people were leaving the city, that's when the Grindhouse movies really started to happen and stuff. And you were telling me about your Grindhouse theater. I got the photo of it right here to show everybody.
Yeah, this is the Hippodrome Theater on Euclid Avenue in Cleveland, Ohio. And this marquee is one of the last films that the theater showed before it closed down. And if you look at the bottom, you see billiards. There's a pool hall below the Hippodrome.
Oh, wow.
I was never able to go in because I wasn't old enough. But it was just a cool touch, you know.
Sure, that's fantastic, man. And I have, as a compliment to that, it was on, was it Roosevelt? I think it was Roosevelt. We had the Woods, of course.
Oh,
the Woods, some
hitter.
people might remember from the Eddie Murphy "Dolomite Is My Name" tribute to Rudy Ray Moore that Moore brought the first Dolomite movie to the Woods, and that he rented out the theater to do it. But also, I should point out the marquee, of course. See, there's and of course earlier for the audio audience for the Hippodrome, we were showing the fog, and the fog and up from the depths. Sorry, I want to make sure I got the other feature. And here, this is classic '70s right here because you got a Ron O'Neal movie, which I've never heard of, The Hitter. Yeah. You'll have to tell me if that's a good one or not.
Yeah, it's Ron O'Neal and Adolph Caesar. And
love Adolph Caesar. Oh my God, Soldier Story. Come on, man.
Yeah. And he's a street fighter, but he's not a real tough guy. But it's a classic Grindhouse film, And I love that picture because I didn't believe that film really got a theatrical release, but evidently it did with a great marquee and everything.
Absolutely, man. And up the street was down the street. I forget which one was north and which one was, or no, they were east. Yeah, there was east-west. So I think east towards the lake was the Woods, but before it was the United Artists. And they both, by the 70s, were doing Bruce Lee weekends and, Planet of the Apes weekends and these individual Grindhouse movies as well. Yeah. So, thank God, not only for Tubi, but I do kind of love companies like Vinegar Syndrome and the other DVD companies now. And in fact, you were even telling me, was it Three the Hard Way that you and I were talking about off the air last year and everything? Yeah. And then Turner Classic Movies ended up showing it before I had a chance to buy it. So I watched it on Turner and everything. But
and Three the Hard Way was, that was originally an Allied Artists film. And Allied Artists went out eons ago. And so it bounced around on VHS for a number of years in an edited capacity. And Warner Brothers ultimately got the rights to it because, they've got several other Jim Kelly films. So they kind of wanted to have them under an umbrella. And there was a scene that was left out. And I had mentioned to their head of Warner Archives that there was a scene missing. And I told them specifically where it started and where it ended because I just remembered it. And he pulled the film off the schedule and tracked it. It took him 2 years to track that scene down, but he found it, he cleaned it up, he put it back in. So now on Blu-ray, if you see Three the Hard Way, you are seeing the complete theatrical release, which is really cool.
That's amazing. Yeah, man, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, man, with all the shakeup over at Warner, was that like kind of a temp job or whatever? How did you get in over there on that? And are you still with them?
No, I was at Warner's from 2016 to 2022, I guess, and started out in Warner Home Entertainment, and then we got absorbed into the theatrical department, which was really cool because when I was in home entertainment, you kind of got whatever you could get. You didn't have anything to do with the EPK material that was being shot. You'd get what they had, and then you try to supplement it with new interviews or what have you. But once we moved over to theatrical, then I was in a group where, if, for example, I got like my last project was the Batman. So I was able to bring on the crew that we would hire that would shoot all of the behind the scenes stuff. And we were able to work from a perspective of creating material to promote the movie all the way through its ultimate release on HBO. So we did stuff to open it, stuff to promote it, stuff for the Blu-ray, stuff for streaming. And so it was all very, very consistent. So in 22, they had layoffs, and my boss and I didn't really see eye to eye on the value of content. So I said, when you guys do offer the next package, just put me in and let me just call it a day. So, but I worked on a few films I was really happy about, and The Batman was one of them. Creed was another. Even though the movie wasn't great, working on Aquaman was cool.
Oh, okay.
Dolph Lundgren and Jason Momoa were awesome. Wonder Woman, that was great, and the director, she was awesome to work with. So I had a good time. I had a good time there. But when I moved over to theatrical, there was a tendency in that department to just see the movies as product and not really see the movies as having lasting value and really impacting, being able to impact people. Yeah. And so they were more concerned with hitting deadlines and staying on budget than doing quality work. And even doing the quality work, I could still stay on budget and hit deadlines. But after a while, it just, particularly when the movies weren't that rewarding, it's like, why am I doing this? Whereas with the Batman was awesome because Matt Reeves was such a huge supporter of the kind of work that we did. And he just, he opened every department for us and gave us access to everything. And,
wow,
we were able to create some really cool content. We won a couple of Clio awards for the work we did on Batman. And so, when you have experiences like that with filmmakers that not only have a vision, but also understand the value of creating material that will help kind of explain and enhance the movie over time, then you can really do some great stuff.
Special features. I mean, when they were introduced on DVDs, I was so thrilled because I was one of those guys that would go to the used bookstores and look for all the film books and get all this stuff between, covers. And it was so great to actually get mini documentaries or the great commentaries that we got. And it's such a shame. This is before you were with Warner's, but my buddy Rob Burnett, who did all these features for Superman Returns, would talk about how the Walmart version had none of that, and it outsold the special features version. And that was kind of the writing on the wall, where it's like, well, why are we putting all these efforts in this bonus stuff? Well, thank God for the secondary market, because again, companies like Vinegar Syndrome, I've been talking about it since I had Garth Ennis on a couple weeks ago. I bought the Dam Busters, the British World War II movie. And if people didn't listen to my interview with Garth, that final scene of this squadron attacking a dam, that essentially was the inspiration for Lucas with the Death Star in the first Star Wars movie.
Wow.
And it's really, really cool. And it's a great World War II movie and everything. And it has tons because it was a real World War II battle. So it has tons of fantastic mini documentaries all over the place. And again, thank God for Vinegar Syndrome and people like yourself that make this kind of effort to make sure that the film is complete, but also to have all this supplementary information. Again, I just think cinephiles want that. And I don't know. I mean, again, luckily with Arrow and Kino Lorber, Vinegar, and these other companies, that they're kind of still doing it, and also they're doing it for these Grindhouse movies, which must be even more interesting to like hunt these people down. I mean, this is 50 years and more. Some of these films going on 60 years and everything. Grab these people before they pass away and get the real stories. You know,
it seems like each time one of these studios is sold, to another entity, it gets farther away from valuing the actual creative engine that makes the stuff viable in the first place. So, when you have companies like AT&T buying Warner Brothers, it was horrible because, they're just looking at customer numbers. They aren't looking at how do we make a good movie that's going to stand the test of time,
Yeah.
And then you get actors like The Rock, who, is more concerned with creating a brand than trying to make a great movie. So when you marry that with studios that really don't have any passion for the movies, then the ancillary stuff that actually helps support it, the special features, just gets kind of kicked to the curb. So you have to be kind of stealthy because there's still a way to do it, but you just have to be stealthy about the way to do it. I mean, when I was at Warner's for a couple years, I kept hearing about they were going to remake Enter the Dragon and they were going to remake Shaft. And I cringed at the thought of both because those are two of my favorite films. But I always felt like, well, if they do that and I'm still here, I have to do the special features. And fortunately, Enter the Dragon never happened. The last time I'd heard anything about that when I was at Warner Brothers, they were looking at Brett Ratner to direct that, and that didn't come to pass, thank God. Although I do think there is a way to do Enter the Dragon that could have worked, but we never got to it. And then when they announced Shaft, and they announced the guy that created Blackish, who was a comedy writer, as writing Shaft, and then this kid playing the son of Shaft, I knew it was going to be a mess. But I went to my boss and said, look, we've got the original 3 Shaft movies. Let me create a documentary about the original trilogy that ultimately led to this thing. And so they were like, yeah, okay. And nobody really cared. And I came in with a budget that was really doable. Okay. And I hooked up with Konstantin Nazar, who's a great home entertainment producer director. He does really good work and he's really passionate. And so we teamed up on this thing and we did a 45-minute documentary called Shaft, A Complicated Man. And it's got Richard Roundtree, Isaac Hayes' son,
wow.
David Walker, Michael Jai White, Sam Jackson. And we found some vintage material, a lot of photos. And we did a really nice examination of all 3 movies. Now, had I not been there, and this isn't pat me on the back, it's just being real. Had I not been there, nobody would have thought about doing anything to acknowledge those 3 films. And I felt like this is probably the last time this movie will have a shot. These movies will have a shot at really being documented professionally. And, as you know, Richard Roundtree passed away not long ago.
Yeah.
So and Criterion picked up Shaft and Shaft's Big Score for 4K, and they picked up our documentary and included it.
Wow.
And I tried to talk Criterion into putting Shaft in Africa on there, and they wouldn't do it. I'm like, well, you're putting 2 of the 3 movies. Yeah. You should put the complete set, but they wouldn't do it. But regardless, it's nice that the documentary exists on a Criterion 4K disc.
100%. That's fantastic, man. No, that's great. Yeah, I don't remember if I had told you in the past, but Richard was at a Chicago convention 20 years ago or whatever, and it was so great meeting him. And again, I have to confess, I'm not a big fan of even the Samuel L. Reboot. But
neither.
the one great moment is when when he asks Roundtree as the real Shaft, who's thankfully in the movie, "Hey, can you back me up?" And he's like, "Me? Back you up?" And he laughs and he walks out of the room. And it's like, yeah. we're like, yeah, that makes sense. All right. I'm sorry, Sam. Not this time.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And because man, I mean, no, those movies, truly, those are great. I know we've talked about the Blackula movies. Have we talked? Are you friendly with Rodney Barnes?
No, we have met via online, but
Okay.
and he's been supportive of my stuff, but we don't
great.
really know each other.
Okay, because man, no, I mean, again, and there's thankfully we need all hands. So absolutely, I'm glad, because Rodney certainly with Blackula and everything that he's been doing to revive the Blackula license.
I love that
and
graphic novel. He did a great job.
Yeah, that's a cool graphic novel, absolutely. And I love Philadelphia and the other stuff that Rodney does, definitely. But no, it's again, I just love these movies. And isn't it interesting that just like the VHS boom, but I guess in the VHS boom, they needed product. So all these movies suddenly became back in vogue. And not only the ones we've mentioned, but even the weird stuff like the Ilsa, the SS She-Wolf movies, which are really gross and really scarily interesting.
Yeah.
But I think, again, by today's standards, would really shock people. And probably, if you're like, hey, we're going to do an Ilsa weekend at a theater. Yeah. You want your theater to be canceled? By all means, do an Ilsa weekend and everything. But I'll let people use Wikipedia or whatever to look up Ilsa. But yeah, man, it's but just like that, now the DVDs, it's like all these, like I said, Arrow and Vinegar Syndrome and Kino Lorber, they need material too, so they're going to these Grindhouse movies.
Oh man, I have to show you this. I'm sliding.
Oh, please.
Second.
I was hoping for visual effects. Absolutely, man.
This is one of my favorite pieces from Arrow, and it is the complete 4K of Bruce Lee films, and they did just an unbelievable job on it, from the packaging to the special features. I mean, it's so good, and I know I can imagine what I think his name is Brian Flowers. I think he did all the special features, and I found his email address, and I sent him an email. I said, hey man, I used to do what you're doing, and I just have to give you so much praise for what you did, because I'm a huge Bruce Lee fan, have been for 50 years. And you gave me everything that I could imagine I would want in such a great package. I mean, and he was really stunned and surprised. He sent me a really nice reply back. And surprisingly, he was not a Bruce Lee fan prior to putting that box together.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because that's wow. And again, you thought he did such a great job.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, man, years ago I had Reggie Hudlin on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And he and I talked about how much we both loved, Bruce Lee movies. I mean, that was it didn't matter. It didn't matter if it was an Asian guy. We just thought it was cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, man. And, Reggie and I couldn't have had more different backgrounds, but like you and I, we're all the same age and stuff, having different lives. And it's like, Jesus, this guy was amazing. And as Carl Douglas told us in 1975, everybody wants a kung fu fighter.
Yeah. I mean, one of my best friends who's from Chicago, his name is Michael Horton. He was a record company executive for years. That was how he and I initially bonded, was over Bruce Lee.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And to this day, he lives in New York now, but to this day, I mean, it's rare when Bruce Lee does not come up in a conversation that he and I have. I mean, it's just how it is,
And in the 70s, right after he passed away, sadly, going back to the movie theaters and stuff, they would have Green Hornet marathons of just Bruce Lee action and stuff like that and everything. Yeah. It was beyond the movies that he made himself and everything. So it's pretty cool. And again, a great star. Well, I was wondering, if you could give me a list of some of your favorite Grindhouse movies.
Yeah. I thought about when we initially talked, and I didn't think I could really rank them. So I thought I'd go by year, just
Okay.
just kind of sequentially. So
Cool.
so I wouldn't say these are my top 10, but they're among my favorites in no particular order. But starting 1969, Sabata. That starred as a Western, a spaghetti Western starring Lee Van Cleef. He played a mysterious gunfighter, and he's got trick guns and weapons, and he dresses in all black. And I thought it was cool because the first time I really checked for Lee Marvin was for a few dollars more. And I thought his character played really well off of Clint Eastwood and was just about as compelling as Clint Eastwood. So when I saw that he starred in this film, and also this is one of the staples of Grindhouse movies, they tended to have beautiful, amazing posters. And this was during a time when you walk through a theater and there'd be down the hall just a bunch of posters of coming attractions. And one was more exciting and more garish and more compelling than the one before it. And Sabata has a beautiful poster, beautifully illustrated poster. And so to go see that, and it was more fun than a fistful of dollars or a few dollars more because it wasn't as serious and as grim. But Lee Van Cleef was really, really good. He was awesome in it.
Excellent. No, I've been finding performances of his from 60s Westerns before his movie career happened. And there's a weird Maverick episode with when Roger Moore, those handful of episodes in the 4th season where Roger Moore is Maverick. And it's John Carradine has a group of gangsters, and among them he's got Lee Van Cleef and Sherry Jackson, who was Danny Thomas's eldest daughter on Make Room for Daddy, but also Andrea, the hot robot girl in the first season of Star Trek, What Are Little Girls Made Of? Okay. And all I gotta do, kids, is tell you the title and look up that episode. And Sherry Jackson cut quite a figure, if I may say. And it's great. It really plays like a crime movie, and she's the femme fatale, basically trying to seduce Maverick. But she's got a boyfriend that's in the gang as well. And yeah, it's great. But no, Van Cleef, it's that face, that look, that sneer.
Yeah.
I mean, you love him, man. No, he's amazing. Yeah. So I'm with you on that.
Okay, so then 1971, I saw my first Kung Fu movie and at the Hippodrome, and it was called Duel of the Iron Fist with T. Lung, who's best known now for Better Tomorrow, and David Chang. And the two of them made several martial arts films in the 70s, but it was just so exotic because I'd never seen a Kung Fu film. The only martial arts I'd ever seen for the most part was Flint and Green Hornet, up to that point. So to be taken into this world of early 20th century China with these different rituals and these different environments, and just the way the sets were designed. And they weren't designed flashy; they were all cheap, but they just looked really exotic. And when somebody got beat, blood would just be flying all over the place like nobody's business. And it was just a really striking introduction for me into Kung Fu movies, because I missed Five Fingers of Death. I don't know how I missed it, but I missed that. So then we moved to 1972, and that's when the world completely changes, because I saw Chinese Connection. It was a double feature at the Hip. Fist of Fury played first, and then Chinese Connection. And it's hard for people that weren't around when these movies came out theatrically to really get the impact of raw Bruce Lee in 1972, because there was nothing even close to it. And Chinese Connection was probably the fullest expression of who he was as a performer and as a martial artist, in terms of just being raw. He got more refined in Enter the Dragon, and he added a lightness of touch in Return of the Dragon, which was never intended to be seen outside of Hong Kong. And it looked like he was moving his game up to a whole different level of sophistication with Game of Death when he died. But Chinese Connection, man, to go from Duel of the Iron Fist, which was just a cool, crazy kung fu movie, to this guy, this little Asian guy that just had muscles like I'd never seen anybody have before, definition like I'd never seen anybody have before, and just a maniac, and using the nunchucks. It just seemed like every 10 minutes something was happening that was unprecedented. And that changed everything for me.
I get it. Yeah.
So
no, that's great. I always said that it's a shame. I would have loved to have seen a boxing exhibition between Bruce Lee and some really quality middleweight.
Yeah.
And I really have a feeling that his fans would be faster than any middleweight of his era that I could think of, honestly.
Yeah. And my buddy that I mentioned a few minutes ago that I told you lived in Chicago, he studied martial arts. And a couple times a year, Dan Inosanto, who was Bruce Lee's buddy, and he taught Bruce Lee how to use nunchucks. He was friends of my buddy's martial arts instructor. So he would come to town a couple times a year in Chicago and do some seminars. And he said, Mike, this guy was so fast. Nobody could stop anything he was trying to do. And Dan Inosanto said, imagine my speed turned up 4, and that's Bruce Lee.
Wow.
I was like,
cool.
He actually slowed down on screen so that it wouldn't be a blur.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So after Chinese Connection, one of my favorite films, my real introduction to Charles Bronson, 1972's The Mechanic. Just a beautifully done examination of an assassin, of a hitman, and it's just multi-layered. And he and Jan Michael Vincent have this really peculiar relationship that's really intimate. Great action. Poster looks like a James Bond poster, and Bronson had a different kind of physicality and different kind of star persona. He's craggy. He just looked ornery, and he was quiet, but then he just sprang like a cat. He was amazing. And I remember that played across the street from the Hippodrome at this theater called the Embassy, which was a lower level Grindhouse film, and it was really narrow. That's what I remember about the theater. There was like one aisle and then all the rows.
We had a couple of theaters like that in the city. Absolutely, man.
Yeah. And I wasn't happy about seeing it at that theater, but man, it was just a great movie.
That's great. No, I'm a big Bronson fan as well. And it's a shame if people only know him from the 80s stuff. You really got to go back. I also love Hard Times, of course, where he's the bare knuckle boxer with him and James Coburn and everything, so yeah.
Man, when I first came to Sony, I tried to get Walter Hill to do a commentary for Hard Times. And we talked about it, and he's like, I'm just not comfortable doing that. He said, I just feel like, directors talking about their work it's just not appropriate.
Wow.
And he was really nice. And I'm like, hey, well,
I had the pleasure when he did Undisputed, doing just a 10-minute interview with him. Yeah. And he had to be out there promoting the film and everything. But yeah, when I was at Sporting News Radio, and I wish we only had so much time, so I couldn't even get to talk to Hard Times about it and comparing the two movies and everything. I wish I had.
Oh, he was great. But then like 3 days later, I get this tube in the mail, and I open it, and it's a signed copy of poster of Hard Times.
Wow.
He's like, Mike, I felt bad that I couldn't really give you what you needed, but I hope you'll take this in the spirit it was given. I was like, oh man, come on.
What a match. Absolutely, man. That's cool. Jesus.
Yeah. So we go from there, still in 1972, to a remake of Get Carter called Hitman, starring Bernie Casey.
Oh my God, never heard of this. Please tell me. I love Bernie Casey. My God.
Yeah. 1972. It came out a year after Get Carter, and it's based more. It hews closer to the original source material, the novel Jack Returns Home. Bernie Casey plays the Michael Caine role. He's a former cop who's a semi-thug gangster living in Oakland, comes to Los Angeles because his brother's killed. and he needs to get revenge and find out what happened. Along the way, he encounters an early Pamela Greer. That's how she was cast, and she's on full display. She ultimately gets eaten by a lion in a safari in Los Angeles, a safari jungle.
Sure.
But Bernie he's awesome as Tyrone Tackett. That's the character's name. And he's he's a tough guy, but there's a level of sensitivity that he shows in dealing with his niece and dealing with some other people that you wouldn't have seen from Jim Brown and you wouldn't have seen from Richard Roundtree at the time. So he brought a different layer there. And it came out on Blu-ray either last year or year before. It's a beautiful print. It's worth checking out. It's definitely worth checking out, particularly if you like Get Carter.
Yeah, I would love to see that. No, I mean, as opposed to the incredibly disappointing Stallone remake from 20 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
So, no, that's really cool. Bernie Casey, my God. First time I think I saw him was Brian's Song when he's one of the assistant coaches for the Bears. And it's like, who's that guy? I'm like, you can't help but look those eyes, man. No, he's much in a very different way from Lee Van Cleef. It's just the acting's in the eyes. And I mean, no, Bernie Casey's like that. And of course, his great two-parter on Deep Space Nine, where he's the captain that goes to the Maquis, Cisco's best friend that betrays the Federation. Right. So good stuff, man. No, I love Bernie Casey.
Yeah. So we moved to 1973. Whew. Pam Grier and Coffee.
Of course. Yes.
John, I have to tell you honestly, and I hope this isn't inappropriate, but it's real. The first breasts I ever saw in my life were in Coffee, and it was a revelation.
Lovely woman, absolutely, man. No,
but it's just textbook perfect Grindhouse. It's just a revenge caper. She's a nurse. She turns vigilante. She's going after drug dealers and crooked officials that are responsible for her sister's addiction. And she uses a shotgun, and she puts razor blades in her wig, and it's just buck wild, But yeah, Coffee made an impression to the extent that years later, a photographer that I knew called me and said, "Hey, doing a photo shoot today. You should come down. I think you want to say hello to the subject." I'm like, "Who?" He says, "Pam Grier." I'm like, "No way. Nope. I'm not sure how I would behave. So no, I won't." But a couple years ago, I met her. I actually did meet her. She could not have been sweeter. And we had a great conversation, and she signed my, Quentin Tarantino has a coffee shop called Coffees.
Of course he does.
and he sells coffee mugs, and Pam Grier's image from Coffee is on it. So she signed my coffee mug.
Wow. Oh my God. I gotta look on eBay for one of those. That's fantastic, man.
Yeah, she's a sweetheart. So we stay in 1973 again for Dillinger.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Warren Oates.
Warren Oates. One of his few leading man films, but great movie poster, beautiful movie poster, illustration, solid gangster film. Oates is perfect. I mean, he does a great job. He looks so much like Dillinger. It's amazing.
True. Yes. Very much so. You're right about that. It was perfect casting. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think it's a really good example of how, with the limited budget did not prevent filmmakers and screenwriters from coming up with solid screenplays and solid approaches on how to shoot these movies, make them exciting, make them compelling, make them dramatic. Because in '73, I'm a kid, I'm a teenager, I'm barely a teenager. I'm not really paying a lot of attention to set design and costume design and all that, but all I know is when I'm watching the film, everything looks and feels authentic. It feels of a piece, and the story is good, and the performances are good. So I don't get bogged down with, wow, this movie looks like it costs $10 to make.
I'm with you.
Dillinger's a really good film. It stands up, really stands up.
Excellent.
And then my last one, also from 1973, and I'll mention a couple others just quickly.
Sure.
But one of my favorites, 1973, Burt Reynolds and White Lightning. You know, that was kind of the origin of his good old boy persona. And unlike Gator and Smokey and the Bandit and Hooper and other films, White Lightning's a rough movie. I mean, it's a really rough crime-based movie.
Yeah.
He's still charming, but I mean, he's a hard dude in a hard land, and moonshine runner making a deal with federal agents to find out about his brother's death that a corrupt sheriff is attached to. You know, Reynolds was really strong. The cast was strong. It was beautifully shot. I mean, just a really, really great Burt Reynolds film.
No, I'm a Deliverance, Longest Yard, White Lightning, Burt Reynolds fan. I mean, the joke was fine, and I like even the second Smokey and the Bandit movie, and I love Jerry Reed, and I love Sally Field, and everybody, and Jackie Gleason, and all that stuff. But I liked when Burt Reynolds was really trying dramatically,
exactly.
And that's what was happening in White Lightning and Longest Yard and Deliverance. And he was great, man, and one of the best.
Yeah. So two more I'll mention just quickly. They both came out in 1977, and they're both of a similar subgenre, which is the returning home from war veteran. The first one is Rolling Thunder, starring William Devane.
Okay. I love William Devane.
Yeah, and one of the first film appearances of Tommy Lee Jones. Devane comes home from Vietnam. His wife's left him. His whole was turned upside down. Somebody, I don't remember all the mechanics, but somebody ultimately comes in his house, beats him up, takes his hand, puts it in the trash disposal. His hand is just destroyed, so he's got a hook. And so he's going to get revenge, and he gets Tommy Lee Jones to help him, because Tommy Lee Jones was under his command when they were in the military. And so it's a mission of revenge, and Devane was strong. He was strong. He should have had more leading roles behind it.
Honestly, man, first time I saw him was when he was playing John F. Kennedy in Mists of October.
Yeah.
As I was a grade school kid back then, and absolutely riveted, and truly, I mean, and then of course, Bad News Bears Breaking Training, the second movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's great in that. Plays Kelly Lake's dad. He plays what's his face's dad. 3 names. I can't remember his name right now.
Right.
But Jackie Earle Haley.
Yeah.
But yeah, and after that, anytime I see him, either and usually, unfortunately, in supporting roles, he's amazing, man. He was great as the president in Stargate, SG-1.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, there he is, man. And also as the Secretary of State on West Wing. No,
right.
I adore William Devane. He's amazing, and it's cool seeing him when he's young.
Yeah. And Rolling Thunder, actually, I guess Tarantino loves that movie so much that when he put out his video line of Grindhouse films, he called it Rolling Thunder.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's where that comes from.
That's cool. That's
yeah.
Is that on Tubi? By the way, Michael, are these on Tubi or?
I'm not sure. I wouldn't be surprised if they were.
And see after we're done and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Because honestly, all right. So give me the other honorable mention.
The other one is called The Farmer, 1977. Gary Conway from Land of the Giants. He produced it and starred in it. 1977.
Wow.
He's a World War II vet that comes home to his hometown, and he's just trying to settle back in. He winds up saving a gangster from a fate worse than death, but that ultimately backfires on him, and so he has to take revenge. And it's a great Grindhouse movie. One of these small companies, I don't remember the name of the company. It wasn't Vinegar, maybe Scorpion. They put out a Blu-ray and 4K of The Farmer, and The Farmer has never been on home entertainment release, on video, on DVD, nothing until a few years ago when this company worked out a deal with Sony, because it was a Columbia picture, and so they put it out. And there's a documentary that's been in the works for a while on it now. And Gary Conway is still around, and he's on Facebook, and he posts from time to time. But I always enjoyed it. And it's an overlooked little Grindhouse gem that I would recommend people check out.
He owes me a part two to my one conversation with them, and we mostly talked about Land of the Giants and Burke's Law,
Yeah.
and other things. But I did not know about The Farmer, and now I even more want to get him back. But yeah, what a charming man. And you may already know, Michael, and I'll remind everybody that when Alex Ross did his Fantastic Four Full Circle graphic novel, he had Gary in mind for his Reed Richards.
Yeah.
And Gary was awesome about that. That's how I got him on the show. And he's like, hey, I'm 90 whatever, and I'm this is my Marvel movie. I'm finally in a Marvel movie.
That was cool. I thought that was really cool.
So yeah, I'm a big fan of his. No, he's pretty cool.
Yeah, cool.
Of course, Teenage Frankenstein. Let's not forget that.
Right. Yeah.
So this is great, man. No, this is an excellent list, and now I'm gonna scan this stuff down. I was ignoring this one digital channel called Grit, and it's primarily westerns.
Okay.
But I have been watching it lately because I happened to notice I got on a Randolph Scott kick, and they were showing some really great, Seven Men Down. I believe that's what the title was, which is just amazing. But mentioning Sabata, was it Sabata that you mentioned at the beginning with Lee Van Cleef? There's a Richard Crenna spaghetti western that looked really interesting, and I got to find it on and see if it's on Tubi or not. But that's like all those, and again, they kind of fit in this genre as well. Not only the spaghetti westerns, but the Euro crime movies of the 70s as well.
Oh, yeah.
I am fascinated by all of these things. And anytime I find anything like that, a lot of times you can find them on Tubi. That's like the great thing about Tubi. Tubi should be a sponsor of Ward Bill, and the way I talk about it all the time, because they just have really tremendous stuff. And every month, or even new documentaries that I'll hear about and go, oh, maybe I'll buy that or whatever. Like they just had one about the great Chicago nightclub, Mr. Kelly's, which was a great comedy and music venue back from the 50s up until the early 80s. And yeah, man, boom, there it is on Tubi. There's this great documentary. I just saw one about I can't think of his name now. He developed MASH, Larry Gelbart. Okay. Fantastic hour about Larry Gelbart. Another one about Max Sennett, the original king of comedy back in the silent era, who discovered Chaplin. It's, and then again, these old kind of movies like from the 70s and 80s. So yeah, I this is where we should go there. And also we should go to your wonderful Facebook page, and not only, Grindhouse Comics.
Yeah.
Excellent. And there it is, everybody. Facebook.com/Grindhouse Comics. And you'll know it when you see it, because you'll see the great page from Mike's upcoming graphic novel, Rain. And that'll be cool. But also some wonderful posters and great entries and memories. And I mean, you've started the ball rolling. You got about 50 people there now. I'll certainly be contributing my favorite movies of the era and stuff like that.
Appreciate it. Yeah, ideally, I really want it to be a community. I'd love to get people involved, and like I posted something about the mechanic, and I asked the question, who would be today's Charles Bronson? And I know what I think, but I'm curious to see what other people would think.
I mean, I think Jason Statham has been like kind of following in those footsteps, but he's too pretty. Or at least he used to be pretty. I don't know. In the words of Nicholas Colasanto in Raging Bull, he ain't pretty no more. But
for me, it's Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy's great. Good call. Yes, of course he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's even uglier than Jason Statham. But he's a badass, man. No, I'm a bit. It's so funny the way his career has gone. And you go back to Star Trek Nemesis, and he's great. Yeah. I really enjoyed him in Star Trek Nemesis, but he's a scrawny little thing in there. It's well before he got that giant wrestler's neck that he
right. Yeah.
That's cool. That's a great choice. Man. Well, and also it's so crazily. Wednesday, I'm going to be talking to my friend Jim Terry, who's just made a low budget action horror movie. Okay. So this subject will come up in terms of how modern people are trying to tackle it and everything. And it's a micro budget movie. Yeah. But I'm excited to talk to him. So no, it's a good timing, Michael. I appreciate it, man.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man. No, you're in the club. I don't know how to break it to you, Michael. Truly, no, honestly, I've really enjoyed every project that you've been involved with Gizmo and everything. So, it is Gizmo. Am I saying it right?
Yeah.
It is Gizmo. Okay, everybody. Yeah, Gizmo. So, yeah, everybody, you really need to check out Fargo, Shaken's Wonderful Western, and the book about Steve Holland, the great male model that became Doc Savage and really was a real life Doc Savage as far as the look and everything. He certainly had it down. And now this upcoming graphic novel, Rain, that's going to bring back the feel of Grindhouse. I like it, Michael. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. It's going to be a fun week at Word Balloon. So Wednesday, like I said, Jim Terry's going to join me to talk about his new movie, and we'll get more details on that. Thursday, I'll be talking to Philip Sablik of Ignition Press and their line of comics and what they're doing. And then on Friday, I think we're set. Tom Brevoort from Marvel is going to come on and give us a night conversation. So it's a nice full week here at Word Balloon to close out February. I hope you'll join us. Until next time, everybody stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.